Great, thank you. So we do have a guest speaker, Mr. Kobe Sky, one of our deputy directors, who would like to say an introduction for this. So Kobe, if you would please.
Thank you, Steve, and appreciate the town council providing us an opportunity. As Steve mentioned, my name is Kobe Sky. I'm a deputy director with LA County Public Works, and I oversee our environmental services branch. And I think you heard I'm joined virtually tonight by several environmental program staff, Steve Milewski, who's our section manager, and David Kosha. And you already introduced two of our team members who live in the Antelope Valley and are attending the meeting in person, Sally McCoy and Susanna Gonzalez. And we're really pleased to join you tonight to give you an update regarding the transition to a more sustainable trash collection system in the Antelope Valley, including Pearblossom. We're going to give you an update on the proposal and listen to your feedback. And you may recall, as part of our original proposal to develop new garbage disposal districts, we released what's called a negative declaration. It's an environmental document back in February of this year for public review. And in response to comments that we received, we modified the project and the negative declaration. And some of the specific comments and concerns that we received included potential increased cost to residents, wear and tear on the roads, dust, noise, and visual pollution, and increased traffic hazards. And our goal is to talk about how we address some of those comments and to talk to you about some of the changes. We also updated the negative declaration. We are now recirculating it. We released it for public review on June 10th, and it'll be available for comment until July 9th. So we really appreciate the time you have tonight, but we also will continue to accept comments, and Steve will talk about how to submit comments after tonight's meeting. We continue to believe that the garbage disposal district system would provide the most benefit to your community, and the changes that we're proposing is our attempt to keep the waste collection system on schedule, to meet state mandates, and to meet the needs of the community. The changes are not final. We really want to hear your feedback before we proceed any further. So thanks again for having us tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve to talk about the recirculated negative declaration and just give you a quick overview of what these garbage disposal districts are. Steve?
All right, thank you, Kobe. And I'm going to share my screen. Do I have permission already, or do you have to grant that to me?
You should have permission.
Okay. Let's see. That's the one I want.
Yay, I did it right.
My computer's not responding. There we go. Okay. All right. Hopefully you can see that all right. I realize a lot of you are looking at a mobile phone, so it's going to be a little bit small. And hopefully you can hear me okay. So if any time you have any questions or you have trouble hearing me, feel free to speak up, because I don't know if you raise your hands if you're online, if I'm going to be able to see that or not. So make some noise so I know you're having an issue or you want to talk to me. So, all right. So good evening. My name is Steve Milewski, and as Kobe said, I work for Public Works, and I oversee the trash collection contracts for the unincorporated communities. The presentation will cover the need for the garbage disposal districts, challenges with the open market system, the California Environmental Quality Act, benefits of the garbage disposal district, the proposed service areas, and what the next steps for the county to establish a sustainable waste collection system in your area. I would like to be clear that today is about presenting you the information so we can get your feedback. No final decisions have been made. While we believe the garbage disposal district will provide you the most benefits, comments we received during the previous negative declaration review period earlier this year led us to change the scope of the project, with the most significant changes being in relation to providing services on private roads and unpaved roads. I will discuss why Public Works formed this team to create garbage disposal districts in North County. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water here. Okay, back. I will discuss why Public Works formed this team to create garbage disposal districts in the North County to address concerns we've received from residents regarding trash services and growing concerns of illegal dumping. The North County's current system is an open market system for residential customers who use wheeled plastic carts and where one waste hauler provides majority of the service. The county has no oversight over the waste collection companies, including the rates they charge, the services they provide, and the customer service provided. For commercial customers who use metal dumpsters, they receive services through the county's non-exclusive system, where they can choose any county-approved waste hauler willing to service the area to pick up their trash. Through the system, customers are able to get different quotes from us for the service, but all are entitled to services that include bulky item collection, free recycling services up to a certain amount with discounts on additional recycling. So why form a GDD now? As I mentioned before, the North County is currently an open market system, which has challenges, as I just described, including the potential for rates to be increased without notice. There are increased reports of illegal dumping where a GDD would provide steady funding to help combat this problem. We're also determining the best way to use GDD funds to assist with illegal dumping cleanup on private property, and we'll keep you posted. GDDs will provide additional services to all customers that will likely include bulky item collection, annual cleanup events, excess trash and green waste collection, rollout services for seniors and those with disabilities, and other additional services for a fee, such as manure collection. Lastly, we have begun the transition due to state laws. It is necessary for the county to ensure certain services like food waste collection are provided to all food waste generators. The current open market system for your area has created challenges for residents, including one, inconsistent rates in your service levels that may change without notice. And also, haulers in an open market system may not provide critical services that comply with state laws and local mandates related to trash collection and recycling. And I will discuss those mandates now. Here I have highlighted a few bills signed into law that impact solid waste collection. First is Assembly Bill 341, which requires businesses that generate 4 cubic yards or more of waste per week and multifamily complexes of 5 or more units to have recycling containers in addition to the regular trash collection. Assembly Bill 1826 requires businesses and multifamily complexes with 5 or more units to arrange for food waste collection. And most recently, Senate Bill 1383 requires all jurisdictions in the state of California, including the county, to mandate food waste collection for all generators of food waste, which includes single-family homes. The county will require all contractor waste haulers to meet the state law requirements. So this presentation was performed once before earlier to many town councils, and I believe yours as well. And so the changes that you see will be in red from what we discussed last time. So the county is currently recirculating a revised negative declaration for public review and is accepting comments through June 9th. Comments may be submitted via postal or email to Public Works at the address shown. I guess I'll read that address for the people who can't see this quite so well. So you send it to the Department of Public Works, attention Reina Soriano, that's REYNA SORANO, at P.O. Box 1460, Alhambra, California, 91802-1460. Or you can mail it to R. Soriano, that's RSORANO at pw.lacounty.gov. The ND is available at the library and is also available online at cleanla.com. Okay. So for occupied parcels that are on government maintained roads, the basic service will include weekly collection of separate trash, recyclables, and green waste, as well as food waste. It also includes illegal dumping collection in the public right-of-way, bulky item collection where residents can simply call in for a free bulky item pickup for unwanted furniture and appliances. These are often items that end up illegally dumped. Annual cleanup events where residents can place items at the property line for collection. Additional collection of excess green waste and trash 4 times per year that is in bags, bundles, or personal trash cans that can be set out. Assisting the community with annual cleanup events by providing roll-off containers and dumpsters. And expanded programs to dump free items at local landfills through an expanded voucher type system that you have right now. All right, so occupied parcels that are not on a government maintained road. So we have discovered that providing services on a private road presents some issues. And so if you would like the waste hauling truck to come to your property, we require the following things. You have the consent for access, meaning it would give us permission to drive on your road. And the second thing is an attestation for dust control if the road is not paved. These were comments that we have received during the initial negative declaration that we circulated, and it was brought out that the additional trash trucks would be creating additional dust. And so we adjusted our project scope to include these items. So as an alternative to doing those things, customers may move their containers to a government maintained road for collection. And please note that a 3 cubic yard dumpster that you find at many businesses and a lot of the ranch properties in your area, those can be converted to six 96 gallon wheeled carts that would be much easier to move than a large metal dumpster would be. The availability of recyclables and green waste collection will reduce the need for trash services. So vacant parcels, what will they get out of their system? Illegal dumping collection from the public right of way. Assistance with community cleanup events by providing roll-off containers in dumpsters. And we will provide ways to expand the existing voucher program to dump free items for free at local landfills and also for a limited number of roll-off vouchers. Funds will be directed to assist with the cleanup of private property. The specifics of it will depend on how much money there is, and excess funds are created when an entitled property owner does not request a voucher, because every vacant parcel will be entitled to a voucher. The GDD collection system. Here's more on that system. The garbage disposal districts are geographically defined areas where the trash services for residential, multifamily, and commercial properties are provided through a single contracted waste hauler. Residential customers use the 3-cart system where usually 3 trucks pick up trash, recyclables, and green waste. However, there is an option for single pass service where 1 truck picks up all solid waste and takes it to a special facility where it's sorted and separated as those facilities are developed. Currently, there are very few in Southern California. It is important to note that a GDD waste hauler will only collect your trash, your weekly trash, recyclables, and green waste from the plastic carts that they provide. However, if you have additional trash or green waste to dispose of, you can call for a special cleanup for those items, which can be collected from your personal trash cans or in plastic bags or bundled. Commercial and multifamily properties get dumpster service, the large metal containers. All customers also have the option of paying for additional services or additional carts or a larger dumpster through contract directly with the waste hauler. Your level of service is based on the assessor's office records for your property type. Basic service fees are included in property tax, and residents will pay the waste hauler directly for any additional services. What are the alternatives? So outside of the garbage disposal district system, the county also implements an exclusive residential franchise contracts. A lot of those contracts are currently then in the Los Angeles area. However, these contracts only provide services to residential customers who use the 3-cart system, which usually includes single-family homes or small multifamily complexes with 2 or 3 units, as opposed to a garbage disposal district where one waste hauler provides both residential and commercial services. Under this system, the residential franchise system, multifamily complexes and homes that use dumpsters will have to contract their own waste under the non-exclusive commercial franchise system in the county. The GDD services are not mandatory, but customers cannot choose to use their own waste hauler and would have to self-haul trash to a landfill. If residents opt out of service, they also have to comply with the trash responsibility ordinance that requires a permit and proof that they're self-hauling. Residential franchise fees are usually higher than a garbage disposal district fee. At this time, we are unable to estimate how much garbage disposal district fees will be for your area, but anticipate they will be higher than the average rate that are in the southern part of the county. We also recently released the contract for bids to determine the approximate cost, and we actually received those bids on Monday. So we're in the process of calculating the fees. The proposed fees, I should say. The residential franchise does not require all property owners to participate in the trash services and the distribution of the cost, which may also result in higher rates and does not generate funding for illegal dumping, additional funding, I would say. So here's the areas of the proposed service areas, and we've divided it into 4. I'm going to skip over to your area if you're going to. So there's Acton, Agua Dulce. We have your area here, which we're calling the Antelope Valley East. And my next slide, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It's a little blurry and it's probably small on your phone anyway. But this is available on our. It should be uploaded by now. We have these maps available online. If not, they will be available very soon. All right, I'm just pausing for a second for you to look at that. So the purple lines, if you're able to see this, those are the county maintained roads, and the blue lines are the private roads. And there's Antelope Valley West, the Port Hill GDD. Next steps. The next steps for the GDD system are community engagement will be ongoing. And we thank you again for allowing us the time to make this presentation. We will continue conducting similar presentation to town councils as requested, and will likely do another round of presentation with updates later on in the process. The formal process for establishing the districts, which involves working with the local agency formation commission known as LAFCO, will begin after the environmental review for the project has been approved. As mentioned, Public Works has released a contract for bids, and a committee will review the submittals and recommend the award of a contract, which requires approval of the Board of Supervisors. Next is the Prop 218 process, which is required whenever local governments in California add or increase local taxes for specific programs. In the case of the North County GDDs, property owners are notified via mail of the fees the county needs to charge on a property tax to pay for the solid waste collection services for your area. The notice it provides information on how to protest the fees in writing and the date of the protest hearing before the Board of Supervisors, where property owners can attend to oppose the fees. If there is no majority protest, the fees would be approved. The same process is required to increase fees for service fees in the future. The next step is to work with LAFCO to establish a ballot measure for registered voters to decide if they want to establish the GDD for their area. We plan on holding a special election for all registered voters for the GDD in the spring of 2023. A simple majority of the GDD vote yes on the ballot measure, LAFCO will issue a certificate of completion which establishes the GDDs. With the certificate, Public Works will instruct the awarded waste hauler to hire employees to purchase the necessary equipment. We estimate our targeting services to begin July 1st, 2023, but with supply chain issues affecting the purchase of trucks, carts, and dumpsters, there could be a delay. And I'm almost done. In summary, we believe the garbage disposal district is the best system to provide a sustainable and efficient waste collection system to all property owners in your area and have all parcels participate, including vacant parcels. The costs are more evenly distributed. The system contributes funding to assist with illegal dumping issues in North County, which are not only an eyesore, but are known to negatively impact plants and wildlife, disrupt natural land processes, and ruin wildlife habitats. GDDs will help improve the quality of life of residents and will keep the community clean with coordinated collection of bulky item and excess waste. With county oversight, there will be a consistent level of service provided and quality customer service. The county oversight will also ensure compliance with laws that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So this concludes my presentation. I'll take questions now. Please note the contact information. I will read it out loud for those of you who aren't able to see this. My name again is Stephen Molesky. My phone number, 626-458-3573. My email, smilewski@pwlacounty.gov. And Mr. David Kosha at 626-458-3529. And his email is dcoska@pw.lacounty.gov. And you can always call us at 888-CLEAN-LA. You can go visit our website. I just clicked on something and it wiped it out. I'm probably messing you up too. There we go. Sorry about that. CleanLA.com has information, and then cleanla.com/new GDDs is specific to your community and these proposed GDDs. And don't forget, you can always report illegal dumping at 888-8-DUMPING or dumping at pw.lacounty.gov. So with that, I will stop sharing and I will take any questions.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you coming out and going over that in really good detail. And I'll just go ahead and start off with the questions that I wrote down during the presentation and how everything you talked about relates to specifically here in Pearblossom from my perspective. I grew up out here. I know all the roads from every single road. I understand how everything flows and moves in this town. So one of the things that you said in the beginning, the metal cans, they're commercial cans, but out here in our area, a lot of people who have large lots have the metal cans. And you said something about they would have to get like a commercial service with whoever the provider is, right? So the money that is being taken out for their monthly, the normal 3 cans that they would get, does that apply to their dumpsters that they want to get instead of the 3 plastic bins?
Yes, you did. I guess I wasn't 100% clear during the presentation, and maybe there's some wind involved or whatever. But so the garbage disposal district offers both the metal cans as well as the plastic carts. It was if we switch over to a residential franchise system, then it's only plastic carts from that system. And then what you have today is the exclusive commercial franchise system. Well, it's a non-exclusive commercial franchise system. So the same way you're getting trash today for the dumpsters would continue.
It would be kind of like a dual system.
Yeah, there would be 2 systems in place. But I think your question ultimately was, if is there a garbage disposal district system and you're entitled to like one set of trash, recycling, green waste, but you want more, you want a dumpster, that the part that's included is what we refer to as a basic service fee. You would use that essentially as credit towards the more expensive service.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. You talk about food waste and it was lumped with green waste. What is that like? What does food waste mean to you guys? I'm like, I don't throw my food away. Most of everything gets thrown into a mulch pile or the compost pile, but not chicken bones and stuff like that. But you wouldn't throw chicken and meat products with your green waste. So can you kind of just put what you mean by food waste?
Sure. This is a result of Senate Bill 1383, and that requires that every food waste generator diverts their food waste from a landfill. So if you do throw anything in your trash today, food waste, then it goes to a landfill. And so starting this year, that is no longer legal, and every jurisdiction has to work towards stopping that process. So that includes organic waste is essentially everything that used to be alive. The tree behind you, the half-eaten burrito, the fat of the meat of the that you trim off when you're cooking, the chicken bones, as you mentioned, eggshells, all that used to be alive. That's all organic waste. That would all need to be placed into the green waste container to keep it out of the landfill, because the black container, or sometimes the brown, will go to a landfill. And to prevent methane as a primary source of they call it short-lived climate pollutants, putting the organics into a landfill generates a lot of methane. And so this is the state's method to reduce those pollutions. And so we need you and everybody else that generates organics, which is virtually every person in the state of California, to keep their organics out of the trash. Did that answer?
Okay. Yeah, I've worked outside in construction, landscaping specifically, and like I would probably stop buying green waste from Waste Management if I knew food was thrown into it, because I wouldn't use that in my yard. So I just never thought of food being old, nasty food that can have bacteria and stuff being thrown in with like a yard product. So that was just a little confusing for me, but I guess that's what they say needs to be done. So be it.
I think Kobe
next
wants to
question.
add to that. Kobe's an expert on this topic. So Kobe, did you want to add
Okay.
something?
Yeah, just to mention that we're going to continue to separately collect landscaping materials, and particularly from larger commercial generators. And so, mulch and things like that are going to not necessarily have food waste and chicken bones and things like that mixed into it. That will be very separate. What we're able, so there's primarily 3 technologies that are going to be used. What are called chipping and grinding facilities, and that's going to process tree trimmings and prunings and larger wood waste, and that's going to create mulch products. We're going to use compost, and that'll be primarily for green waste, yard clippings and things like that. And then all of the food waste, really what we're going to try and do is separate that and send it to a process called anaerobic digestion. That's very commonly used today for treating wastewater, but it works really well in converting food waste into renewable natural gas for power and electricity, and what ends up being compost material that goes back into the soil. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I think it's going to be a really hard, it's going to take us a while as a society to get people to not scrape their plate off into their trash can, let alone have like 4 or 5 trash cans for separation. My mom has 4 trash cans in her living room, and I got 4 kids. There's no way I can pull that off, but my mom separates everything. So I completely understand what we're going for. I think it's going to be a hard, long road for a lot of people until that practice is picked up. But hey, you got to start somewhere. Next question. You talked about vouchers, like the voucher system. So in other counties, no matter what, you always get like at least 1 free dump a month. When we have our large yards, that's something that needs to kind of happen. I mean, it costs us whole unincorporated area. Our deserts are littered with construction trash. And when I've done construction in other counties where they have a district, let alone where they offer like vouchers, their deserts are way cleaner. And homeowners can say, hey, you don't need to charge me for a dump. I have a free dump. So you have a lot less of the contractors taking $200 from the client, saying I'm going to go dump it. He keeps the 200 and throws it across the street in Pearblossom or Little Rock. So, I think vouchers are very important for the success of keeping the deserts clean. And I think you should offer, real serious talks of, up to, a ton a month. We should be comparable to our county that's right next door. So I know we're far away from Los Angeles, but the dump that's closest to Pearblossom is in San Bernardino County. And a lot of us take our trash there, especially our yard waste, because It's just cheaper. And they don't care if we're from LA County either, and we don't mind paying less. So I think vouchers is very important, and it works for them. So totally support that. You talked about permission for accessibility. So here in Pearblossom, we have a ton of dirt roads. And people at first are not going to understand, oh, I got to give permission, for the county to come down my road. Well, what else is that going to inquire? They're going to think you're giving permission for every county department. And I'm not saying you are. This is the potential of what's going to probably happen. I can already see Chuck getting his phone calls from people. Oh, they want permission, and now so-and-so's coming down, and it's just a chain reaction. So if someone doesn't want to allow you to come down their dirt road, what's their options then for trash service?
I briefly touched on that. And so that would be that they would move their containers to the nearest public road that the county maintains.
Now, say everyone on the road does that, and now we have a traffic or a road issue or a safety issue with all those trash cans. Have you thought about an alternative or a solution to that?
Well, as part of that process, though, we're requesting people to indicate where they're going to put the containers, and then we would review that location, because it could be a lot of containers depending how many homes there are down the road. So we're going to review it for safety primarily.
Okay, because I was just thinking, like for example, like I live on a half maintained road, and the private road starts right at my property parcel. So I live right on the edge of the county maintained road. There's 4 houses, so I'm pretty lucky. So if all 4 people ended up putting their trash can up there, and I doubt that they would, but I could see other roads in Pearblossom where you have a potential of 40 homes on one private road, and that might be an issue. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. We have a lot of private roads. So if you want to prevent all that congestion, we need to really make clear to the client or to the person, like this is just for trash service, and this is for us to let because you're on a private, like very specific about it. No other department is getting permission, just this trash truck for this service. But just wanted to bring that up about our roads. We have a lot of private roads, and then some are shallow, some are really deep.
I just want to say that's really helpful feedback. So we're trying to make a very simple form, just a 1-pager or less, that basically lays out, this is just to provide access to your property and to confirm that the roads are treated so that we're not creating excess dust or other impacts to your community. But we'll make sure to clarify not just that it's only for that purpose, but also that there's no additional cost. So they're getting a service that's door to door, curbside collection or collection at the property line if you provide us the form, but it's entirely up to the homeowner. We want to make sure that they give us permission before we have those trucks go up there.
Awesome. Next question for you guys. You talk about recycling bins. We have a lot of people here who are very good at recycling. They're not going to give up their cans and everything with a little bit of value that they could cash in. So what other items are you talking about recycling? And then where do those items go? Because there's so many programs out there right now. They're like, oh yeah, you throw your stuff in the green waste recycling, or the green, or the recycle bin, the blue one, whatever color it is. And most of that stuff doesn't get recycled. So like, is there a big list for recycling? Or are we just keeping it small? Like, what does the recycle bin look like? Because we've never had those here in Pearblossom.
Yeah, there's a required list that the waste haulers have to adhere to. So it's not up to them necessarily to choose what they want to recycle or not. It's your papers, your plastics, and metals are the basic 3, I would say, overall. And there's variations each of those, but yeah, you just throw it in the container, and for the most part, they will get recycled. It's the things that don't get recycled typically are there when there's contamination. You'll see things like a lot of products are mixed, it'll be part plastic, part metal, and those things don't necessarily get broken down and separated. They might end up in a landfill instead. So it's, as long as it's clean going in, it'll get recycled, and it's assuming it's on our list.
Awesome.
I would
Okay.
say glass is the other category, so
Oh.
paper, plastic, metal, and glass. And yeah, the more complicated plastic items, there's less of a market for that, so then they may not get recycled. But there's definitely a rebounding market for recyclables right now. Now that we have higher limits for contamination, we're basically pressed the recycling facilities to do a better job in, you know, collecting and cleaning up the material so that they can sell it to markets and make materials out of it.
All right. Next question I had was, you guys talked about for vacant parcels, providing illegal dumping services. What does that mean? Like, what's that conversation look like? You know, I know Tom and I and Chuck and a handful of other community members have walked onto other parcels and just cleaned them up for people. But I know you guys have limits with that. So what does providing illegal dump services mean?
It is two parts. It would be the illegal dumping that's close to the road. That would be picked up. But then what the plan would be is that we are going to be having the fee that's paid will include one voucher for every vacant parcel, one ton voucher. And so there's a lot of vacant parcels in the area in all the garbage disposal districts. So anybody who says, no, thank you, I don't need a voucher, that money then would roll into a pot. And eventually that money will build up, and we would look at using that money to go onto private property and clean up, possibly with like a third party where we would hire a contractor to go clean it up. We're still working on all the details, because you can't just go on somebody's property and steal their stuff, even if it looks like junk to you. So there would probably be some waivers involved where we get consent to do it. But that would be the goal, is that we use some of that money for that. And then we're going to make the roll-off containers, like the large dumpsters, a certain number of those available. So that, like what you just said, like when you and your neighbors go up and clean up somebody else's property, we'd make a limited number of the roll-off containers available.
All right, awesome. Okay.
And thanks for cleaning up, by the way. It's great to hear.
Yeah, we did really good. Waste management has really been awesome at donating containers, and between just our local crew, and then we've had outside help and other organizations. And I think over the past 4 years, we've pulled out at least 20, 40-foot long containers from really bad hot spots. Not to mention Tom and I and a handful of other folks. We just pick up trash throughout the week and shove them in any trash can that we can find here in town. So we do have a lot of people who pick up. So if there's ways for the private or the local community to really help clean up an area, which would say allow for more containers instead of paying a third party, I think that would be kind of open for our community to participate and want to do something like that. We're pretty tight knit, and we know people. Everyone knows every other homeowner, and if we don't, that person in between knows the next person. Okay, cool. Next question. You talked about the cost being lower in South County. Why?
Density. It's all about the efficiencies. So when you're in an urban area, even like Quartz Hill is going to be a cheaper rate than for your community, because it's all about how much time the waste hauler spends in an area. It's not as much about the quantity, it's more about because they're paying the human being to drive the trucks. Maybe we're going to phase that out eventually, but for now, it's the guy that driving the truck. He's expensive. And so your properties are large, spread out. It takes much more time to go from your house to the neighbor's house to the neighbor's house. And a lot of the roads are unpaved, so they're going at a much slower speed. So they need to make more money per home to pay for that driver's salary.
Understandable. Thank you. And then we talked about the privatized. We have privatized roads. So my last thing is just because of timing. Is that why you guys are going to have a special election? Just the way the timing of this is going to fall out.
Yes. It's, you get very limited shots at hitting the regular elections, and we don't want to wait. I think it's, and I don't even think it's in 2023. I think we have to wait till 2024 for the regular election. And then we can't wait that long.
I think so too. Okay, so that's all I have. Does anybody here in the in-person meeting have any questions?
Great questions,
Okay.
by the way. Great to hear.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you've had to say in answering those. Sorry if I missed a couple of those during your presentation. Maybe I had a verbal. Does anyone else out in the audience have any questions for Stephen?
This is Devin, and I actually do. You know, when you were talking about, you know, the dirt roads, I mean, fortunately, and I don't live on one, but I live close to one. And you're talking about the dust, basically a dust abatement by the property owners, you know, if you were to go on the property. How exactly are you talking about treating that area or having the homeowner treat that area? Because as you know, most of the time that's done with water. Well, as you know, water right now is not, it's quite the commodity. So just how would a homeowner go about doing that?
We tracked down a guide actually from the FHWA, that's the Federal Highway Administration, I believe it stands for, that talks about, they probably had 6 or 7 different methods on there for dust suppressants. The one that the county uses on our roads, it's, they call it a chemical suppressant, but I don't know if we really consider it a chemical because it's all natural. I guess it's made from seawater, from what I was told. It's just like a salt essentially that they spray onto the road, and magnesium sulfite, and it hardens the surface of the road so that it prevents both the deterioration from the trucks driving on it and then the dust from kicking up. So that's what the Public Works uses. We're not going to specify how a homeowner must do it, and we're not going to be able to verify, unfortunately, whether or not they do it or not, because there's just so many roads out there. We're not going to have a dust police driving around looking for dust.
Well, that's good because you're going to find a lot of it.
Okay, did that answer your question then? Because I guess we'll probably develop a guide if, assuming we move forward. I don't see why I wouldn't. Of how to
I'm
assist the
just
homeowners.
seeing, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of, you know, cha-ching to the homeowners. So property taxes, you know, to do this kind of, you know, dust mediation. And because I can tell you, I only live on a 3rd quarter acre property, and twice a week I haul up bins from the bottom of the yard to the top of the yard. And just doing that, and that's 2 bins because, you know, I have horses, but that not only creates a lot of dust just doing that, but it's a lot of work. So I feel really, if this goes through, I do feel really sad for those that do live on dirt roads. It's going to be quite a challenge.
Go ahead, what you want to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, the dust issue is something that was a comment provided to us, and we take that seriously. So we want to make sure that we're going to provide information to the property owners. And again, so the county is going to maintain all the roads that we have ownership over, and we're going to treat them this way. And what we're going to suggest to those property owners that want to give us access, we're going to give them information about the mechanisms for treating the roadways. And then, you know, once a year, we'll get that form to verify that they want to continue to have us go onto their property, and to attest that, you know, some kind of treatment in one of those different options was done to reduce that dust issue.
I have a question that kind of goes off of that, since you guys are public, and yeah, okay. Public Works. We do have a lot of private roads, but we also have a lot of roads here in Pearblossom, which are dirt maintained county roads. So I know you guys would spray those. What's the probability of us just getting more paved roads? Some of these roads have exceeded, you know, so many houses on one block. So like the density is there to go from dirt to, is that something that maybe we can talk about, or get the right part of the department or in on the conversation for these things in these areas? Because I know that's a topic that's beyond the garbage district on top of it, especially for our town, because we have roads that haven't been maintained in forever. And we have some people who are like, well, I'm sick of living on a private road. Can I just get a regular road? We don't even know who to ask. So like, if this is a way to start that conversation, then maybe maybe we'll get there, but
It-
that's something that someone brought up to me. Like,
Yeah.
well, can't we just get a road?
So there is definitely a process, and whether it's a county road that's currently unpaved and you want to request, transitioning that to a paved road, or a privately owned road that you want to petition the county to take over maintenance of. There's a process for that. I'll tell you, there is a high bar for us to accept private roadways, but we can certainly have our road maintenance folks come back at a future meeting and talk to you about that process if there's interest.
Yeah, I think there would be, and thank you for offering that. So maybe we could chat later and get those right connections going. So,
I have
does
a
anybody else have
question.
anything else? Go ahead,
I
Jose.
do. I have, so one is, how long are you looking at the contracts with these, on this biddings?
So we did two options because we thought maybe a longer contract might be more attractive to waste haulers. So we put two choices: a 10-year contract with extensions and a 15-year contract plus extensions. And so we haven't analyzed the rates yet, but just so it's the basic contract, 10 years, and then two. I'm trying to remember. I have 27 different contracts that I help manage, so it's sometimes I get a little confused. I believe it was an additional 6 years, so 2 3-year extension options. So it would be 10 years plus potentially 6 years of extensions, or 15 years plus 6 years of extensions.
And the biddings will obviously include waste, the bidders will include waste management, I assume.
I would certainly expect that they would be, yeah.
So my other question that I have is with the vacant parcels. When you talk about having a voucher, you're talking about having an annual voucher, correct?
Correct. A
Okay.
1-ton annual voucher is what we were proposing.
And then on that one, and that will go through the property taxes.
For vacant and occupied parcels, everybody pays for the services through their property tax.
All right, I missed that part.
Sure. And then additional services, because you can upgrade, meaning more services, more often, more times per week, newer, larger containers, more containers, you would pay those directly to the waste hauler for the additional service. But we refer to as the basic service is included in the property tax.
And what would be, I guess, what would be the metrics of somebody, these vendors doing that's a satisfactory job to make sure that they're not substandard, or I guess how would you guys gauge that?
Well, there would be two ways to look at that, I would say. So during this process that we're in today, there's essentially like a pass-fail requirement on the contract. So anybody can bid on our contracts, but that doesn't mean like you personally could have bid on our contracts. But we're going to look at it and see Jose. Well, Jose has no experience picking up trash. So there's like a financial requirement. Did you have enough money to be able to buy all the resources needed? And have you had, I think we said 3 years of experience collecting the trash? And we pretty much deal with the same waste haulers around the areas. We don't get a new person bidding very often. So all the people, especially waste management, they're certainly experienced. I don't think you could argue. You may not like waste management. You might like their customer service. You might love them. But I don't think you could argue that they're not qualified to pick up your trash. So there would be the qualified hauler that we would select in the process. But then as ongoing, they'd be required to meet the terms of the contract. So that one of those terms, weekly collection. The bulky items, you must pick up bulky items. You must pick up illegal dumping when it's reported to you. So we have a team in the office that manages the contracts, and we're proposing a group of 3 people that drive around in the Antelope Valley looking for issues as well. So to keep the haulers on their toes, essentially, and report any issues to us.
All right, and my last question would be, so the way you're obviously creating different zones and everyone's bidding those zones.
Right.
Are you, I guess, to me, what I would find problematic is if the same bidder gets most of the zones. Will there be a way to just kind of shuffle them a little bit?
Well, we can't prevent people from bidding on the contracts. And so there really isn't a good mechanism to say, well, you can only win one zone. And I don't know if you would necessarily want that, because I mean, you obviously you're familiar with the area, you know, there's not a lot of competition out there, and it's a challenge. And so,
None.
yeah, and so through our bidding process, we're hoping to encourage the competition. Because I think the thing that's holding other companies back today is that they don't have a guaranteed customer base. It costs millions of dollars to move into your area and start providing services, all the trucks they have to buy and all the containers they have to buy and the drivers they would have to hire. And so they don't want to come into your area and have, let's say, 10,000 customers today, and then they lose all the customers because there's no commitment necessarily. There's no contract between you and the waste haulers. So
And
our
then
system then guarantees that contract for a while so that they have the incentive to bid on these contracts and knowing that they're going to be able to make their money back on the initial investments.
All right, and then the other, I guess the other hurdle, which would be is if the adoption rate or the opt-out, obviously the opt-out number is a little on the higher end then to make it a feasible. Again, that would probably be, I guess, something that'll be hard to overcome if you have a sizable number of properties that opt out.
Well, the GDD system that we're suggesting, you essentially don't opt out. You're going to pay on your property taxes. Now, we're not going to force anybody to use the service, but you're going to pay for the service in the GDD. So that's actually one of the attractive points to the garbage disposal district, because then you don't have customers who say, no, I'd much rather burn the trash in my backyard or dump it on my neighbor's property illegally. Everybody would be paying for trash service, and we believe then everybody would be using trash service. So there is no opt-out, but the residential franchise system that I talked about does have the opt-out provisions, but then you would have to get a permit from public health that shows that you are self-hauling to the facility on a weekly basis. And yeah, I believe you have to give them receipts showing that you're doing it on a weekly basis. And my experience is that it's not necessarily cheaper to self-haul because most facilities have a minimum tonnage required. So the typical, like a single family home and even the larger properties there with the ranches, I don't know that they would generate enough waste to justify paying the minimum.
All right, I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Jose.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that, Stephen. And if we have a few more things on the agenda, so if anybody has anything else, right now is our time to ask Stephen. All right. Well, I thank you for coming out, Stephen, and everyone else from LA County Public Works. We appreciate a very detailed report, and thank you for answering all our questions. And if we could come up with any, we'll go ahead and shoot you a question.
Please do.
You guys have a good evening, and thanks again.
Thank you. And I just want to say, I appreciate not just your time, but those were incredibly thoughtful questions. And it really helps us to pinpoint what your priorities are and what your concerns are. So I really appreciate your time and your feedback.
Awesome. Our biggest thing out here for us is we just really want to get our desert clean. And if this is an option to get our desert clean, we're going to support it. So vouchers are, I'll stress it one last time before I hang up on this conversation. Vouchers are very important to that success of keeping our desert clean. And maybe we can make a construction voucher, right? Hey, you're doing construction, you get 2 construction vouchers a year. That word right there, construction voucher, people are like, oh, trust me, as a contractor, I think it would go a really long way. Like, oh, here's your regular voucher, but maybe 1 or 2 construction ones. And then that will allow like the contractors to not do what they do. There's one way to do it. So thanks again, guys. Thanks, and ladies, thank you very much for coming out here.
You got it. Have a good night. Thanks, everyone.